Well, it's Easter Saturday, and after another week of non-stop rain, the sun's actually come out a little bit. And I'd better make the most of it, because we've only got today and tomorrow of good weather, and then we've got another 7 days of rain. This is a kind of a part 2 of the River Ver walk that I did 3 years ago, almost exactly to the day. We're going to continue from where we left off last time. We finished up at Redbournbury watermill. So we're starting there today, and I'm going to follow a walk called the Ver Trail along the River Ver down to the Roman Theatre just outside of St Albans. Now last time I came here, the watermill wasn't open, it was a closed day. Now they're open today, so hopefully we'll get to see the wheel turning and get to see the workings inside and watch them actually milling some flour. If I remember rightly, the building that we're looking at there, I think the oldest bits of it are 16th century. But there is mention, even in the Domesday Book, that there was an old Saxon watermill on this site, as well as a couple of others along the way. But what we're looking at there is a bit later. It's thought to be sitting on the old Saxon foundations, though. Now we've got the wheel turning today. And I can see lots of visitors in there. I think it's all up and running. Actually, before I go in, I'm going to see if I can get myself an Alban bun. Apparently, the original hot cross buns were made here in St Albans by a 13th century prior or monk who decided that he was going to bake these, you know, little sweet treats for people and give them out on Good Friday. So any local peasant that came knocking at his door, they'd get a free Alban bun. I've heard that they've got them here for sale today. I'm going to go and have a quick look because I'm pretty keen to try one. They sold out of Alban buns, so I had to settle for an Eccles cake. Really nice though, all their own work. But I wouldn't mind betting that's not the only place in the country that's got a claim to having invented the hot cross bun. What an excellent fully restored mill. It's brilliant in here. I've just made my way up to the top floor. The lady on the door downstairs said the best way to explore the place is to follow the route of the grain up to the top floor, working its way down, using gravity to take it through the various processes involved in turning it into flour. I've actually got the wheel right below us here. I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up very well. There it is, just see it turning down there. That runs a series of belts and pulleys and gears all the way up to the top here, where they would hoist up the sacks of grain and set them in motion on their way down through the mill. And there's also a little exhibition here of what you can expect to see along the River Ver, where we're going, and some of the special birds of the Ver Valley. I think we've got a buzzard there. That's either a coot or a moorhen, I get the two confused. And we've got various pictures of egrets and or herons. And don't know what that is, little brown job they used to be known as. Lots of old tools and equipment. Looks like another old hoist there. Right, let's start working our way down the levels and see how these things work. Oh dear, I can hear kids coming. I can hear a family with young kids, so let's try and make this quick. Right, now this is an old thatching machine. And here's some more of the sack hoist equipment. Oh, they're going to be loud, aren't they? Over here, that's for shaking all of the chaff and the stones and all the unwanted bits and pieces out of the grain before it's sent down into the grinders. Now that's marked as Rosie's gravity dresser. I'd say by the looks of it, it's another sort of a screening machine for shaking out anything that you don't want. You can see from these old photos that they've done an excellent job of restoring it, because it seems to have been in a bit of a sorry state throughout most of the 20th century. And here it is burning down in the 1980s. Apparently the work of hooligans. There you can see the great big wooden hoppers that then feed the grain down through the floor there, down to the next level, which is millstones. And there's a couple of examples of old millstones. Apparently that one's made of Derbyshire millstone, gritstone, but apparently that can put quite a bit of grit in the flour itself, so that tended to be used for animal feed. Whereas this one's made of a French gritstone, and this is the grade that they used to make flour for human consumption. And there's the mill's two current millstones in situ, fully operational, raring to go. They sit inside these wooden tuns here, so you can see that the grain comes from those big hoppers we just saw upstairs, down through these chutes and into the top of each millstone. They're brilliant. Look, they've even got little bells on top. They tilt over as the grain starts to run out. They'll tilt forwards and ding and warn the miller that he's about to run out of grain. And over here we've got more sifting and screening. This is what they used for separating out the various grades of flour. You get white flour, brown flour, semolina flour and bran, all coming out at different points along that cylinder in the middle. It's a really nice mechanical sound actually. So much wood and leather going on. It's got quite a nice woody sort of sound to it as it's chugging away. They've got an example of an old manual hand-turned quernstone there. Apparently you can buy little bags of grain down in the shop, and the kids can come up here and have a go at grinding their own flour. Down to the next floor then. We've had our wheat come down from the top into the stones, and somewhere under there's going to be flour falling down to the next level. To the ground floor then. And these chutes here, these are where your 4 grades of flour from that sifting machine upstairs come down into the bags. if we have a look through here, we can see some more of the workings. This is what's on the interior wall of the wheel outside. Now it's in there that the rather miserly 10 revs per minute of the water wheel are geared up to 120 RPM, which is what's necessary to run the grinding stones upstairs. What an excellently restored mill that is. It's brilliant, it all works, and you can come here and buy bread and cakes and everything that's made from the flour milled in there. You can see the water wheel there behind me. One thing I didn't get to see today is they've got a 32 litre oil engine from the 1930s, which when the water flow is insufficient to run the mill, they'll fire that up and use it. I mean, that's a sight to behold in itself, so I might be back here again one day. Hello there, girls. I hope none of you are after my Eccles cake, because you're not having it. Now I think most likely that black shed over there next to the water wheel, I think that's probably where the 32 litre oil engine's housed. Isn't it nice to see one that hasn't been turned into a fucking Wetherspoons? Right then, let's follow the Ver trail. We'll follow it along the side of the river, through the fields, and just down to the very edge of St Albans, where we can have a look at the old Roman theatre. I've been meaning to see that place for a few years now, and I had a quick look online, and there's a lot to see, so very definitely worth a visit. Lots of Roman history around here. Very, very rich history of all ages, really, along this stretch of the River Ver. Back upstream behind us, and we could have included it on my first stretch of the walk that I did a couple of years ago. There was a Roman temple complex, an entire complex. Unfortunately, there's nothing to see there these days. It's all been ploughed over. But Time Team were there. Oh, Tony Robinson and Phil Harding and all that lot. They were there, I think, back in 2009, where they gave it all a proper excavation. And they found, I think it was 3 Roman temples in the end, along with what appeared to be a bit of a leisure complex. They think they identified drinking houses, tourist offices, ticket offices, souvenir shops. Now a lot of that was concluded by Richard Pryor, who, if you know anything about Richard Pryor's ideas about Stonehenge, you might not have got the Roman facts right about the temple complex back there. But it's an interesting thought, it's an interesting idea what he came up with about it being a, you know, maybe a sort of 2,000-year-old Alton Towers almost. Yeah, Friar's Wash, the area was called. It's just a couple of miles back upstream, slap bang next to the M1, sadly. That's another reason for not filming there. You hear all the traffic. There'd be nothing for me to show you, but if you're interested, on Time Team's official channel on YouTube, they have got the episode on there. I think it was called The Trouble with Temples. Seems like one of the archaeology geeks on Time Team was also a bit of a Star Trek geek with a title like that. It's a shame I just scared off a whacking great heron. the name Redbourn could be broken down into Red River, and you'd be thinking, well, oh, there must have been some fierce battles here in the past to make the river flow red. Well, there probably were, but actually red is just a shortening of reed. Redbourn means reedy bourne. You might notice that as we've headed downstream, the flow has reduced quite considerably. It was charging by a few hundred metres back there, now it's barely flowing. I'm going to put that down to the great big pumping station that I've just walked past. Of course, it's pretty standard practice. Anywhere you get a lovely Chiltern Hills chalk stream, one of the rarest and most scientifically significant habitats in the world. I think it's about 95% of them are in the southeast of England, with a few in, I think, France, Belgium, Germany, but not many. What they tend to do with these lovely habitats is stick a pumping station on there to take all of the water out for you know, municipal supplies, and generally they'll pop a few sewage works along it as well, which is very good of them. We're just approaching the hamlet of Chillickbury now. It's spelt Childwickbury, but it's pronounced as Chillickbury. Now, half of the things in Chillickbury are using the name Shafford. You've got Shafford House, Shafford Stables, Shafford Stud, and we're about to walk past another mill, a 19th century mill called Shafford Mill. Now, I tried to find out what the shaft bit means. Obviously Ford at the end just signifies that it's at a crossing of the river, which it is. But the shaft bit, I couldn't actually find anything specifically for Shafford. But what I did find, there's a town in Yorkshire called Shafton, and that means a farmstead marked by poles or shafts. It's an old English word, which is where we get the word shaft from, shaster, something like that, I can't remember. But it would suggest that in the past, before this was known as Chillickbury, which I think is a much more recent name, it was probably originally known as Shafford, meaning ford marked by poles. Probably some sort of way marker for ancient travellers, because although we're looking at some fairly neat stretches of river now, of course in the past all of this would have been very, very marshy, and you might have needed the assistance of a couple of big poles to show you exactly where the best place was to cross the river. And it's all rather executive, don't you know, don't you know, don't you know. It is actually still a nice chalk stream along this stretch. It's looking a bit silty at the moment, but that's hardly surprising. We've had so much rain. It's pretty much rained since last July, and it's now the end of March. Horrible, sorry state of affairs, which doesn't do my allotment any good. I'm not sure about this particular stretch of the river, but I heard something on the radio the other day about the amount of sewage that the water companies are releasing into all of our lovely little native streams. It's not just the water companies. I mean, yes, they are the devil. They cause an enormous amount of damage at the cost to our landscape and our wildlife. It's not just the water companies. There's a farmer I know of who's got a sideline in pumping out people's septic tanks. They're cesspits. Not everybody around here is on the sewage mains. They'll have a septic tank in the garden where all of their effluent collects, and it has to be periodically pumped out and taken away and emptied. Well, this farmer I know of, he goes around pumping out people's septic tanks and using the resulting mush as free fertiliser on his crop fields. I'm not sure if that's allowed or not, but there's definitely somebody who does it. And of course, if you're spraying raw sewage onto your crops, I mean, other than the obvious ick factor, that's all going to wash straight into these rivers, these little chalk streams. They do see a bit of abuse. This is Shafford Mill then, the mid-18th century one, and just opposite here, on the other side of the lane, you've got the old granary, which makes sense, next to a watermill. I can hear some geese. Oh, they've gone. Let's just have a very quick look at the front of the mill. I don't want to stand here filming people's houses. I never feel comfortable doing that. Have a quick peek. You can see up there where they used to hoist the bags of grain up to the top. It's a lovely little stretch of river, isn't it? This first section of the Ver Trail that I've been following, from the mill down to the ford here, where the ford once was, it's now bridged over, but where the river meets the road, that's all very clearly marked on the OS map as a public footpath. Now the Ver Trail does actually continue on the other side of the road all the way over to the Roman Theatre, but it's not marked as a footpath, so I get the feeling that must be some kind of permissive path. Somebody's come to an agreement with the landowner, I would imagine. I think the landowners are probably the people at the Verulamium estate, and they're allowing people to go through there. It goes past some old fish ponds, which I've seen from the road. It looks like an interesting little spot. We'll be there in just a sec. Here we go, look, here's the A5183, the old Roman Watling Street. A couple of more hens down there. Right, if I can get safely across the road, we'll continue on the other side. And the Roman Theatre's not very far across those fields.